Everyone for tuning in. I appreciate you taking the time. I'm excited to be here with you during the Crypto Carnival 2022. My name is Suraj Sheth, and I work at Perry Technologies. Here, I primarily focus my time on ecosystem growth, or essentially business development. Previously, was at Web3 Foundation, but made the transition in December of 2020. Now, this presentation is going to be a high-level overview about Polkadot, Kusama, Substrate, our ecosystem, and I hope you guys enjoy. So let's jump right into it. As many of you already know, Polkadot was founded by Dr. Gavin Wood, who is the CTO and co-founder of Ethereum. Notably, he invented both the EVM as well as Solidity. Now, once Gav had delivered Ethereum, he founded Parity Technologies in 2015 alongside Dr. Yuta Steiner to push blockchain tech further. And this was all happening around the same time scaling discussions at the Ethereum Foundation were coming to a stall. Gav wrote and released the Polkadot white paper in 2016 and established the Web3 Foundation in 2017. Web3 Foundation is a Swiss nonprofit based in Zug, Switzerland, focused on research and development to build the foundation of the decentralized web. Parity Technologies, we are a software development company based in Berlin, Germany. We have somewhere around 220 employees, and the majority of the team is engineers focused on implementing the specifications defined by the W3F. Now, to understand what we do, we need to take a step back. If you go back in history, if someone wanted to build a blockchain, they would, one, fork an existing chain. For example, the Bitcoin repository was forked to create Litecoin, or similarly, the Ethereum repository was forked to create Codex Coin. Or two, you'd have to hire an awful lot of engineers because when you're going to build a blockchain, you need to have a system for networking, a system for consensus, a system to bring data on the chain, a system to store data. You need cryptographers, and there are so many of these different systems. With Substrate, we're changing the game by enabling engineers to easily create trustless experiences. What we've done is we've created a bed, an underlying technology bed that allows for all of those systems to run easily in a modular manner. Substrate is the only flexible, open source, interoperable, extendable, and future-proof framework for building blockchains. It provides all the core components of a blockchain, such as the database layer, the networking layer, a consensus engine, and each of these can be customized and extended to your needs. You can easily create your own custom blockchain runtime utilizing Frame, which is what is used to build the Substrate node. This affords you a large amount of freedom over your blockchain's logic. It allows you to configure data types, select from a library of modules, which are called palettes, and even add your own custom palettes. The end product of building on Substrate will be a node that is running a bundle of your modules called the runtime, along with the WASM binary that contains your state transition function. In essence, Substrate makes it possible to innovate and build optimized, scalable blockchains in a fraction of the time than if they were built from scratch. Polkadot, for example, is built utilizing Substrate. The reason why Polkadot exists is because we believe in a multi-chain future. And if you believe that, then know that some layer that allows independent blockchains to communicate with one another in a secure manner is necessary. And that's exactly what Polkadot is. Polkadot is a layer 0 meta protocol. It's architected as a sharded blockchain that's designed to enable the secure interaction of many different layer 1 blockchains. Each shard represents a custom blockchain network known as a parachain, which enables transactions to be processed in parallel instead of sequentially. The majority of developers today are building parachains utilizing Substrate. Right now, there are many blockchains such as Ethereum or Solana that exist in isolation. They utilize bridges that have varying levels of trust to communicate with one another. Parachains, however, can utilize XCMP to communicate with one another arbitrary data or value in a trustless manner. Rather than having each of the individual networks maintain their own security by incentivizing an independent community of validators or miners, one set of validators is maintained for all parachains, which reduces the cost of security for everyone. The only other notable interoperability protocol, Cosmos, falls short here as each of their zones have varying levels of security. Just like in cybersecurity, the weakest link in a chain can break the entire chain. By allowing heterogeneous application-specific shards to exist, builders can natively optimize for complex use cases for NFTs, DeFi, identity, privacy, or file storage, without making trade-offs that would make interacting with the system inefficient and expensive, as we see in general-purpose computational environments such as Ethereum. An NFT chain can trustlessly communicate with a distributed file system to store metadata, or a privacy chain to mask transactions, or a DeFi chain to enable the lending and borrowing of NFT without the risks of bridging. One of the really unique things to Polkadot specifically is its through-and-through governance. It evolves with the needs of the token holders. Using the WASM Meta protocol, Polkadot can enact chain upgrades and successful proposals without a hard fork. Anything that is within the STF, the transaction queue, or off-chain workers can be upgraded without forking the chain. Now let's dive into a high-level overview of Polkadot's architecture. The relay chain is the central chain or the nexus of Polkadot. It deliberately has minimal functionality. For instance, smart contracts are not supported on the relay chain itself. For a parachain to connect to Polkadot, it uses a lot of resources of the network. Essentially, it uses Polkadot validator resources. And so there are a finite number of parachains that can be connected to Polkadot at any given time. So auctions are Polkadot's way of determining who gets these resources based essentially around the community backing of each of these projects. Now, parachains and parathreads are both third-party chains that connect to Polkadot. Parathreads are very similar from a development perspective to parachains. The difference is economic. A portion of the parachain slots on the relay chain will be designated as a part of the parathread pool. In other words, some parachain slots will have no parachain attached to them and rather will be used as a space for which the winner of the block-by-block parathread fee auction can have their block candidate included. Collators maintain a full node for the relay chain and a full node for their particular parachain, meaning they retain all necessary information to be able to author new blocks and execute transactions in much of the same way as miners do on current proof-of-work blockchains. Collators bundle parachain transactions and send proofs to the Polkadot validators to verify and add the next block to the relay chain. To summarize, there are 4 ways of integrating into the Polkadot ecosystem. 1, you could build your own chain utilizing Substrate, participate in the auction to deploy your WASM binary to the chain for a lease period, and have the ability to add blocks to the relay chain at every time interval. 2, you could deploy your Substrate chain to the parathread pool, which has a low economic barrier to entry, and participate in per-block auctions to add the next block to the relay chain. 3, you could build your own sovereign Substrate chain and bridge to Polkadot. And 4, you could deploy smart contracts or pallets on existing parachains. If we look at the Polkadot ecosystem as a whole, it has grown significantly over the last few years. Currently, there are 500 plus teams who are building out solutions in the ecosystem. 150 of those are teams who are building out substrate-based chains. Today, there are about 10 parachains that are live on Polkadot and 26 that are live on Kusama. And this number is massively growing. If you look at our ecosystem from afar, there's a spectrum of different types of parachains. On one side of the spectrum, you have platforms such as Moonbeam, which is essentially Ethereum on Polkadot. All of the existing tooling such as Truffle, Hardhat, or MetaMask work out of the box with the parachain. Developers can deploy either Solidity or Viper smart contracts on the chain. On the other side of the spectrum, you have application-specific blockchains, such as Engine, who have built natively their chain for NFTs specifically. They have unique features that enable you to have free transactions based upon reputation, or free transactions up to a certain limit. You could even batch mint up to 70,000 NFTs all at once. In the middle of the spectrum, we have what I like to call opinionated blockchains. They are a hybrid of platforms and application-specific blockchains. A great example of that is Akala. They're focused on DeFi and have natively built a DEX and a stablecoin palette. On the chain, they've also integrated the EVM Plus palette that enables developers to deploy smart contracts on their chain. While exploring whether you want to build within the Polkadot ecosystem, you're able to leverage a lot of resources that Web3 Foundation, Parity, and the community have come up with. On the learning side of things, if you're looking to dive deeper into Substrate, go to substrate.io and you can take a look at all the new tutorials, documentation, and guides that are available over there. On the courses side, there's also Substrate Academy as well as Industry Connect, which you can tap into to essentially learn more about how to develop within the ecosystem as a whole. Outside of that, there are many events or hackathons. Recently, we just got back from ETH Denver, where the team had hosted a few different bounties or prizes available for individuals. And if you're looking for a job within the ecosystem as a whole, we're absolutely hiring. We have more than 50 plus roles available today. And you can take a look at careers.substrate.io/jobs to find a job within the ecosystem as a whole. For teams who are looking to build, initially to kind of offset some of the developer costs, there are open source funds that are available. Both Polkadot and Kusama have on-chain treasuries. There's about 25 million DOT, or also 530,000 KSM within the treasury, and they're actively looking for different teams to support and fund. On the Web3 Foundation grant side, really the criteria is that the work needs to be open source, delivered within 3 months, and provide generic value to the community. There are 3 levels of the grants, and the third level does not have a cap on top of it as a whole. Once you've started to build within the ecosystem and you'd like to get structured support directly from Parity, you could tap into what we call the Substrate Builders Program, where we provide you with BD, marketing, funding, as well as direct technical support from the Parity engineers. And finally, we have many accelerator and incubator programs that we can connect you with, such as Outlier Ventures, the Berkeley Blockchain Accelerator, and there's a few more that are launching quite soon. So I'd like to thank you guys once again for taking the time to listen to this short, sweet presentation on Polkadot. If you want to reach out to us to learn more about the hackathons, the education, or you're thinking about building a product within the ecosystem as a whole, please reach out to us at growth@parity.io, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. So thank you guys again. Have a great rest of your guys' day.